Good evening. It's been a while since I spoke to everyone, and I thought it would be a good time to speak again. I apologise, firstly, if the professionalism is not so good as this time, but clearly, like many of us, I am isolating. I'm in a lockdown scenario, so I'm doing this myself on Zoom rather than having the fantastic people who would normally be recording it. So I apologise if it's not as good, but that is the way of the world at the moment. Clearly coronavirus has affected every single person on this planet, and it's had a huge impact. Every day that goes by, things seem to escalate and change, and the uncertainty and the fear goes on and on. I've just been listening to the press conference here in England, and as you may know, those that aren't in England, our Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, is in intensive care for the third day. Our death toll seems to go up and up and up, and it's almost on 8,000 now. So deeply troubling times, and clearly it's had an impact on all of us. For us as a company, it's had a huge impact. As you probably are aware, we've had to shut all our operations. Every single resort, every single area of operation has ceased trading. When I started the company, God, 27 years ago, I would never have dreamt that we'd be in a situation that literally from virtually a day-to-day basis that we would cease trading, but we have, and we're clearly all facing once in a lifetime. Well, I hope once in a lifetime, but the biggest event in our generation. I wanted to assure you various things. One is, even though we've locked down and shut our operations, the resorts themselves are totally looked after. We have crews of maintenance people looking after them. We have security. We're very conscious that, particularly in the tropics, resorts need to be maintained, air conditions need to be put on, the furniture needs to be secure. So we are looking after them and keeping them in a pristine condition. We're also going to use it as an opportunity to do some maintenance. There are some things that we've been planning on doing, so we can be doing work on them during this time, which may possibly have caused a shutdown further down the track. More importantly, in some respects, than looking after the hard asset, the resort, is looking after the members of staff. And I'm very, very conscious that we have a duty of care and responsibility to do that. Clearly, like any company, we have had to downscale. We've had to reduce the level of staff in order to operate efficiently and to be able to carry on. However, we're very conscious that we are providing packages for people, we're providing guarantees of employment. When we've had to furlough people, we have been looking at how we can do it to protect them. Where there have been people in families that possibly the other party is out of a job, because of course it's not just us, it's the world which is having to make changes, we are providing funds, and we're providing support, we're providing food packages. So I've been very concerned that we have huge loyalty from our staff. I know many of you have made good friends from people that work for us. Please be assured that it is at the front of my mind and our mind as a company that we look after them and we care for them, particularly those that are possibly at the lower end of the income scale, who are most vulnerable, because some of the countries that we operate in, like India or Indonesia, don't have the social backup that Western countries have. And so we are looking after them, and we will continue to do that. I say they're shut. I mean, interestingly enough, they're not all shut. Some of them we're using to house our staff, because clearly some of our international members of staff were also caught in this limbo. And so Kandara, for instance, and Jimbaran, we have quite a few members of staff who are locking down there and are staying there. In India, Hati Mahal, as you may know, and those of you who are residents in India, the Indian government took a decision to lock the country down at a very, very short notice. I'm not a politician, I'm not a scientist or a medical man, so I can't comment on why it was so swiftly, but it does strike me as difficult to make people have to leave the country in 2 hours. And the inevitability was that there were quite a few tourists who were caught in India. So we have provided a bit of a refuge at Hati Mahal. We have owners that are there now because the lock-on is still on. And we also invited totally non-owners, if they wanted to come, that they could self-isolate there, free of charge, of course. But we provided people with a room that they can isolate in. It's safe, it's secure. We have obviously room service, which we can provide with the food outside and wine or beer or whatever. So hopefully when the lockdown finishes next week, I've no idea if they're going to extend it or not, but if they do open it up at least for a window of time, then our clients and the new friends that we've made who've joined us can go back to Australia or back to Germany or back to England, or indeed back to elsewhere in India. But it has been a bit of a refuge for them. During the lockdown, we as a company continue. I think I work as much now as I do. I get up at 6 in the morning and I communicate. I'm in England. I communicate with my key managers. It's bizarre, of course, because I have some managers who are locked down in Australia, some on the West Coast and some on the East Coast. We have some key managers who are locked down in Bali. We have some managers who are locked down in Singapore. We have some who are locked down in India. And we communicate every day with Zoom, which I'm recording this on, which is a marvelous invention. I don't know how I live without it now. It'll certainly radically change our company going forward, I think. But we have various priorities. Our priorities are to protect the resorts. Our priorities are to protect our clients and protect our owners. And we are looking at ways that we can do all those things effectively and efficiently during this structure. We're also planning for the future. I mean, in the short term, we have to restructure our business and ensure that costs are controlled and in line with the current scenario. Clearly, the problem we all face is we just don't know how long this will go on for. And it would be a very, very brave man to predict an exact timing. So we want to be ready when the storm passes to emerge, to swiftly be able to operate again, to take advantage of what I've called, and one of our plans has been, the horizon of hope. Because I don't think this is going to suddenly go back to normal on one day. It's not. It's going to go back to relative normality in different parts of the world at different times. Again, I'm not a politician or a scientist, but I believe until we have a vaccine, there are going to be peaks and curves. I do believe people will be able to take holidays. I do believe that the lockdowns will come on and off, and they will lessen in intensity as testing is done, as apps are developed to enable people to track if they've been in contact with people with the virus. But it is going to be 12 months or 18 months, which is going to be different. But I do believe during that time, there's the opportunity for people to holiday, and I believe people will want to holiday. I certainly am looking forward to a holiday with my family. And so we're spending a lot of time looking at how we can create the opportunity and we can create the holiday experience during those moments, those horizons of hope. Really, this has been for all of us an extremely troubling time. And I know many of the people watching me have enormous troubles, money troubles. They have troubles with employment or concern about health or elderly relatives. My father is 90 years old, and I'm very troubled about him being out there in this scenario. We all have these troubles, and it is a terrible experience. What I'll say is, though, that there are some positives. It's maybe it's a strange thing to say there's positives here, but I was looking at it today and thinking, well, it's now 3 weeks tomorrow that I've been locked down, and during that time, I made one trip to a supermarket. Every day I'm able to go and walk the dogs and spend an hour, go out. But otherwise, I've been here at the house. And there's some good things that have come out of it. I spent some fantastic quality time with my wife and my children. Every day, my wife and I walk the dogs and we talk, and we really enjoy that experience. My two children and my son, who's 11 years old, we play sport for 2 hours a day. Unfortunately, my son was born in Australia, so he supports Australia, so we play cricket every day. We play the Ashes, me, England, of course, and him, Australia. And unlike in real life, Australia wins every time because he's quite good at cricket. And we play football matches, spend time with my daughter. I work out a lot. I've lost weight. I go to the gym and spend an hour every day here. As I say, I walk the dogs, I play football. We have every night a family meal at 7:30. We have a different theme every night, and we play cards. We kind of watch a movie together as a family. And as someone who's always traveling, who I haven't been on a plane in 4 weeks, which is probably the most in my entire life, it's been a very positive experience, and it's actually given me time to think. It's given me time to consider many things. I think from a business point of view, it gives one time to stop the daily operations, and one can see how one can things do better, or one can provide a better service for clients. From a health point of view, I have lost some weight. I'm feeling very healthy. So clearly, on one side, I'm consumed with the fear and the problems of what's going on in the world, and also of the company, which it's very hard to go from something which is here to suddenly stopped. But everyone is in the same boat, and that's my philosophical viewpoint on this. Is no one is unique, and many people have much harder than I do. So I'm blessed with many positive things. So I do think there are some positives, and I also think I wouldn't say I'm necessarily the biggest sort of eco-green warrior on the planet, but I do believe very much in green initiatives, and I do believe in sustainability. And there's no doubt, from a micro sense, when I go out and walk the dogs or I look out at night, the sky is clearer. I suffer a bit from sinuses, and sometimes I snort a bit and feel a bit blocked up, and I've always suffered from sinuses. I don't now. So there's no doubt for me that the air is clearer, and you see scientists talk about the less carbon dioxide out there or whatever. So maybe again, there's an element of positivity that the earth needed a bit of a cleanup. It needed a bit of a break. It's almost like sometimes one's body needs a week off the wine or whatever, or travel. So what is happening is terrible, of course, but I comfort myself, and I'm a bit philosophical, that in every hardship, in every darkness, there often are some positives. And I also think, again, without again saying I'm a politician, I think the positive is that the governments of the world have to take health more seriously, because one thing I think is for sure, that although this coronavirus is terrible, it's not as bad as it could have been. I mean, there could be far worse diseases like Ebola or things we don't know about now, which could be spreading, which would cause far more death. And so I think governments have to work with the World Health Organization, although Mr. Trump seems to think they're not relevant. I tend to think they are. I think governments have to invest more money in their country's health systems, because clearly one of the problems of the moment, and the reason for the lock-ins, is countries can't cope if everyone gets ill at the same time. And so whether it be in the United Kingdom, the National Health Service, or whether it be in Australia, the Health Service, or in India, these are vital things to us. And I think they've been probably neglected in the past. And if there is a positive, I suspect when this storm passes, they'll get far more attention. So enough of me bleating on. It's good to talk. If people feel it's a good idea, I'm delighted to talk more over the coming weeks. I'm delighted to field any questions and answers that you may have, any questions about the company, about the business, about me. Feel free to fire them off, and it'll be good to have a chat. And I'll leave you, if I may, with another joke. Well, I said you a funny clip before, but a friend of mine told me a good Corona joke earlier, which I thought I'd share with you. If you've heard it before, excuse me, but I'm not the best person at telling jokes either. But anyway, there's an English guy driving down a motorway in England in a van, and he's got a van full of monkeys. He's got to take them to the zoo. So the other zoo's shut, and so he's taking the monkeys to the zoo. And he breaks down, and he's down on the motorway, and he breaks down. Oh, what am I going to do? Another van comes by with an Irishman in it, and he stops him and says, "Hey, Paddy, do me a favour. I've got to get this van full of monkeys to the zoo. Will you take them to the zoo for me? I'll give you 50 quid. And so Paddy goes, "Oh, okay." So he puts them in the van, off he goes. 2 hours later, Englishman is still there by the side of the road. It's the Corona, so social distancing, no one's out there. Still waiting for the pickup trucks to come and get him. And he sees the Irishman come back with a van full of monkeys. So he jumps out and stops him. And he says, Paddy, what are you doing? I gave you 50 quid to take them to the zoo." And Paddy said, "That I did, sir. But I had £10 left, so I'm taking them to the cinema now." Sorry, should laugh at my own jokes. Anyway, it's after 6 o'clock. I have a new routine. I don't touch drink until 6 o'clock. But at 6 o'clock, I must confess, open a bottle of wine. I've got a rather good Aussie one here. It's a Tasmanian Pinot Noir. So it's good to talk. It's tough out there. It's tough for all of us. And I know it's tough for you. But as they say, as the politicians say, and I believe it's true, we have to work together, and working together, we will get through this. So cheers. I do like Tasmanian Pinot.